Most people who live in America know of Abraham Lincoln, but very few know of his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln. Mary had many difficulties through her life while living as a 19th century woman. Mary grew up with a big family before she met Abraham. She struggled living as a woman during this time period, and she also struggled with loneliness and depression. Mary was born in Lexington, Kentucky in 1818 among her 5 other brothers and sisters. Her childhood home can be found in Lexington, Kentucky, and is available for tours. It has many of Mary's personal belongings. Her mother died when Mary was only 6 years old. Her dad remarried and had 8 other kids. This left Mary feeling abandoned and lonely, leading to her emotional scarring for life. In 1839, she met Abraham Lincoln at a party in Springfield, Illinois. Mary described Lincoln as plain with a possible destiny to be a great man. Mary said he was ugly at first sight, but once getting to know him, she found something in it. They had many things in common, such as their love for poetry and politics, and they both had lost mothers at very young ages. Mary loved that Abraham viewed women as equals and had a huge heart. It is said that Abe had cold feet when it came to marrying Mary because of how much she would flirt with other men. Despite this, they ended up marrying in 1842. Mary and Abraham had 4 sons together that Mary held very close to her heart. As a kid, Mary loved going to school and learning. She would run to her classes every day, eager to learn more and more. Mary was far more educated than other girls. She had a lot of potential but no opportunity to prove herself since she was a woman. During this time, women just didn't work. Basically, their only life option was marriage. Mary used Abraham to make her mark on the world. Many say Abe would not have become president without Mary. Helping her husband with the political campaign was satisfying, but she knew her status would always be known as second-hand. In 1860, Abraham won the presidential election, and Mary loved the attention of First Lady. This was the attention Mary had craved since she was a little girl. However, the White House turned out to be awful for Mary. The Civil War began in 1861, causing Abe to be wrapped up with work and leaving Mary out as a political partner. Mary started to get criticized for everything she did and needed more fulfilling work. Mary used her children as an attempt to shield her own vulnerability. Since Abe was on the road a lot due to work, Mary basically raised her 4 boys by herself. This led to her intense and immeasurable grief when one of her sons died at only age 3. After this death, Mary was constantly worried over her other boys and developed intense anger problems along with health problems. She didn't have a religious faith to help heal over the death of her son and became very brittle. Instead, she used mediums to try and talk to the spirit of her son, which still didn't help. Mary became known around town for giving tongue lashings to any and everyone who crossed her path. There were lots of deaths to come in Mary's life due to war, including her 11-year-old son who died from an illness. This broke Mary. She stopped functioning, stayed in her bed for months, and forbid gatherings at the White House. This caused people to dislike her even more. They felt Mary was overreacting because they too were losing family from the war. In 1865, she witnessed her husband's assassination. Mary was barely holding on to her sanity. She became obsessed with her husband's death. She dressed in black for the next 17 years of her life. Mary had many money problems. She wasn't poor, but it wasn't the type of life Mary was used to living. She would beg the rich to raise money for her, and she tried selling her fancy clothing items and accessories, which again caused more people not to like her. Then, in 1871, she lost another son at age 18 due to lung disease, leaving her with one remaining son, which she soon disowns. Her last living son felt his mother a danger to the family name and to herself. He had Mary institutionalized into an asylum. To do this, he had to petition to the courts as to why his mother needed to be put in a home. However, the court was made of an all-male jury, which found Mary guilty. Mary was released after 4 months in the asylum, but only a year later she was tried again, and so Mary left for Europe for several years. At age 63, Mary returned to Springfield and died with many health problems. She was partially paralyzed and blind and just as lonely as she was as a little kid. Mary did not live the best and most satisfying life. Growing up with a big family was emotionally straining on her. Living as a woman in the 19th century was difficult for Mary, and losing so many loved ones left her lonely and depressed. Mary Todd Lincoln had many hardships throughout her life. Without Mary, Abraham Lincoln wouldn't have become the man he did. which is why it's so crazy to me how very few people knew of her and knew of her story.